Hi guys, so this is Matt Wiswesser, Crash. What do you do? What's the
My business?
Yeah, I know because you changed the name, so I
Venator Human Performance.
speak.
Venator Human Performance.
So he does mobility and
Strength
training and a few other things. He's one of my good black belts, one of my regular training partners. I train with him probably once or twice a week. Enrique's MIA, so we're
Next best thing.
next best thing. Welcome to episode whatever, guys, because I don't have that in my head. There's been a lot of things in my. I can't read it. Like 37. All right,
Yeah.
good. So, guys, as you know, the format: live questions get priority. I have two topics I want to discuss. So, we're gonna start with the technique: straight armbar setup from the Guard NoGi. That's from Bar Arts. I want to go over a question that I got yesterday from Parker Adams. Parker, if you're watching, chime in. So he sends me a question on Facebook that he's started playing with split guard based on one or two videos on YouTube. And he's training with a good black belt, really good black belt in Pittsburgh. I know the guys very well. And he's like, this is working. Do I have an unusual body type? I said no, because I know what this body type is. But I explained to him what he needs to do to overcome whatever difficulty he had, and it's working for him literally after 2 tries. Guys, if it's working that quickly for you, buy the freaking DVD on BJJ Fanatics. Because if it's effective after you watch it on YouTube, even marginally effective, there's something to it. All right? Parker, if you're watching, chime in. Now, let's go back to the art questions, and that's related to straight armbar setup from the Guard with NoGi. Again, this is pretty well covered on my BJJ Fanatics. This is a different DVD. This is the Armbar DVD. It's the first one I did. There's like 50 reviews, pretty much. I think there's 49 5 stars and 1 4 stars. I'm not sure. Sometimes people like, okay, yeah, I'm not sure what I didn't like about it, but let me. That's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But this is a very important topic, guys. When you armbarring people from the Guard, especially with NoGi, it's different because you don't have the threat of the cross collar chokes, which helps set up a lot of armbars from the Guard with the gi. The mistake that people make, especially in NoGi, and I use this very similar setup even in the gi, is they focus on holding to the arm. This is sort of like what people do, and usually they hold with 2 hands on one, or like this, or like this. It almost doesn't matter, like with NoGi, like this is kind of, and then try to do something like this. I'm not controlling his elbow, and I'm not controlling his posture. This is how it's gonna go completely awry. He's gonna pass your guard. Again, the biggest mistake you can make is controlling the arm. When somebody's in my guard, I generally try to put him in split guard or with a gatame, which is, a subsection of a split guard. But a lot of times when guys start to perceive their threat, they start to move in a little bit close. They want to move in closer. And right now, Crash is taking away my split guard attacks. I need to open and I need to come out. But in between, as this is happening, as he perceives a threat, and he may start standing. And as he perceives the threat, he just decides to come in that this is safer. So again, he took that threat. But in between, you have a great opportunity for transition. Even if as he's standing, as he's coming in, I don't really care about the arm. I care about his posture. That's my left hand, and the angle. Okay. I don't care about the arm. So once I get here, there's 2 possibilities. One is he picks up his head slightly, and I have a very strong armbar with the armpit grip, guys. This is super, super strong. The other possibility is he realizes that he's being threatened with an armbar, and he basically keeps his head down. So what he's trying to do is time me. That as I start to push his head away, that's when he rips out. I don't push his head away. if he keeps his head down, I just lock a top lock, cross my ankles, pinch your knees. This is absolutely brutal. Now, to make it even more brutal, if I actually can, I will triangle. I did not have the heart. So the point that I'm trying to make is when I attack a straight armbar from the guard, especially nogi, I do not hold on to the arm. I do not even remotely grab the arm. I concern myself with his posture and creating an angle perpendicular. And depending whether he keeps his head down, in which case I just top lock and do top lock armbar, which is absolutely brutal if you do this well. Very, very short movement of hips. Or if he picks up the head by himself, I do not push it out. I do not struggle. I let him make the decision. So it's either top lock armbar, which is absolutely brutal. If I can triangle my legs, I will, guys. It's very, very severe. Or if he picks up his head, I armbar him. Again, with that armpit grip, guys, that armbar is very, very strong. So again, make sure that you control the posture and the angle. The arm will be there. And if it's not, it's almost impossible to take out that arm that's under threat. But if it's not, I go into reverse triangle. So again, let's start from standing, so especially nogi. So as I start to attack, the guy decides to come in. This is where I am right now. Okay? Now, Crash keeps his head down. I just lock my ankles. And even if I cannot, I can go in almost any direction. Look, man, no hands. I'm coming out at a very oddball angle. If I lock up a triangle, it's even more brutal. I could sit here for 20 minutes. He's got no place to go. There's literally, I do not know how he would escape. And the last one is, if he picks up the head a little bit, boom, it's on. It's very, very strong. Now, as this is going on, if he decides he perceives correctly that his right arm is under threat of an armbar, he pulls his arm. I do not let his head escape. So I'm controlling head and arm. I just lock up a reverse triangle. And you've seen this before. From here, I attack usually with a gatame, but there's not a lot of breaking power. He alleviates the pain by bending his arm, and we have a very strong finish. So that's the sequence I use with regularity. Again, if you watch any of these episodes, I tend to play probably three or four guards predominantly. Probably 80% of my guard attacks come from those three guards. And it depends on the distance that your opponent gives you as he's coming closer. This is my straight armbar setup. Prior to that, if he's still a little further away, I will attack with split guard, oregatame, and then depending on how he reacts, I either finish with omoplata triangle, or at the very least, I get a sweep. So I hope that answers your question, Bart. And Mike, what do we got? I know you were squinting heavily, so it's either you were falling asleep or the question came in and you weren't quite sure what it meant.
Well, we have one question that's related. Lots of peers asking, what do you do if he folds his hand and keeps his palm on your chest?
You know,
I got it.
yeah. What's up, Elad? How you guys doing? So, again.
Yeah, I can't get it out of the armpit.
He can't get it out of his arm?
Or is he talking about the non-arm locked arm or the other one?
Which one? This might be the only possibility. I sweep him. Because when he brings that out, when he brings his left arm in, his balance is off. So basically all the attacks start with putting the guy in danger. Almost all the time, as an experienced guy will stop the sweep. Believe it or not, when I attack in this manner, his best bet is still to be swept. But it's not just any ordinary sweep. It's a sweep where you wind up in a strong mount. It's, yes.
He said, no, I'm talking about the arm that you want to armbar. So I guess before you catch it in the armpit.
What do you mean before?
I'll see if I can not let you get it. So if we're more here.
That's too late now.
Yeah, I'm not any other. I would just come here.
Yeah, but still, if he comes here, I attack with split guard. Now, this is done. I can feel this. This is done. You can see his, Matt's hand is ready to tap. So it's too late for him, but if he caught it a little bit before, yeah, go ahead. This is how it's going to go out. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I've done this specific sequence. Why are you laughing, Crash? I know why you're laughing. Because I do it on a consistent basis. From here, it's very hard to escape. So the point is, that is not a viable defense. You know, if he, especially Nogi, if he keeps his hands on my torso, it's very easy to get him under my armpit. Once I get in my armpit, there's a threat of split guard. Okay? The split guard is a very dangerous guard and my number one preferred guard. And he has to react. If he reacts too late, it's done. If he reacts a little bit better and kind of comes in, I'm immediately going into perpendicular guard and then I attack. People call it a diamond armbar. I like the term diamond armbar. Sounds nice. The problem is it does not adequately explain what is happening. I prefer perpendicular armbar because you need to try to get yourself in a perpendicular position, because if you keep the same lock up, the top lock over his shoulder, and you start to drift to being lined up with him, you start to lose it because then he can drive the shoulder in. So you need to keep that perpendicular aspect. And again, very important, my hand, one is controlling his posture, the other one is creating the angle. Forget about the hand. The hand will be there. At least one of the arms will be there. If it's both, you armbar him. If it's one, you reverse triangle, and then you finish him with Americana.
And he followed up with, okay, you move the hand yourself. Yep, that should do it.
Yeah, it's especially in no-gi, it's easy. With the gi, you may have to break the grip and start to pull, but even then, it's basically the same setup. The only additional complication or additional movement you have to do is break the grip and start to drag either outside or inside.
We have more questions on this. We have a question from I Am Feiner. He's asking, I noticed that to get the finish, you seem to rotate to be less perpendicular. Doesn't that help straighten the arm more?
It depends what he gives me and how good my lockup is. I'd like to be perpendicular. He does not escape until he gets almost fully lined up. But I need to make sure that I get a hip extension on things. And you may need to drift back a little bit. So again, let's start from standing. So let's do. So he keeps his head down. I lock up. So I cannot, he's blocking my head in this case. If he's not, I can continue this way, inside. But a lot of times the guy blocks the head. So if that happens, what I'll do is I'll squeeze and I can come out almost any possible direction. So you can figure out the angle that he's giving you. There is no sort of single given angle. It's just basically what you're doing is you're controlling the guys. And if he's blocking your head from inverting to the side that you need to more, sometimes people block it, you can come out the other way and break, belly down. It's not a break, but hopefully the guy will tap before that happens. But either way, it's a much more high percentage armbar than trying to bring, especially in no-gi. In MMA, this bites people in the ass constantly when they sort of start to go perpendicular and try to bring that leg over the opponent's head. They time it, pull out, and then it's catastrophic. So it's much better to control with the top lock. But he decides, if that head is up, I will armbar immediately. If he's basically trying to time me, I will lock up the head, as it's sort of down, and attack from there.
And Also related to perpendicular guard, Ainsberg is asking, I remember there being an entry from bottom turtle to perpendicular. I was never able to get it right. Is there a way you could go over it?
Yeah. So a lot of times when the guy has the arm draped over, if he drapes too much, I can sit and roll him through. But a lot of times, yeah, the guy's kind of draped somewhat light. So what I'll do is I'll start to create an angle. What I'm looking to do is roll in and finish. So let's look at it from a slightly different angle. This way. So again, I control his outside hand first to make sure that, you know, he cannot go for my neck. I start to lift my hips. I post on my shoulder, look towards my feet, create a roll, and as I'm creating a roll, if he just postures up hard, I just regard. Okay? But if he does not, a lot of times guys still try to maintain some form of control, and this is done. Again, I'm a big fan of the armpit grip, guys.
You followed up with, ooh, that's it.
Yeah, it's good. It works against high-level guys for quite a while. It works for, you know, there's certain things that, you know, especially if you're training with high-level black belts, that you do once or twice and they zero in on it and works no more against them, works. But there's certain things that work consistently for a while, and you know, anything that works either works pretty quickly against good guys, even before you got it good. It's worthwhile to spend time on it, and anything that works consistently for a while, this is one of them. At some point, people will figure out a counter, but then I counter their counter. So. Yeah.
And GM Baseball says, thanks, Matt, for sacrificing your body for us. And we have a question from Elaine Manzo. He's asking, hi, I've been trying to play split guard, but when rolling, usually end up finding myself in half guard. Is there a transition you like to use to get back to split guard from half guard?
Yes, actually that's... I'm not for me, guys, don't get me wrong. There's guys that will play split half guard that are very good at it. You know, Tom DeBlas comes to mind. You know, for me, I'm not a fan of that guard because, and the reason for this is, as I'm sort of digging under, you know, if my neck gets wrapped, then things start to go south. So usually when I wind up in half guard, for whatever reason, I will try to get to split guard. So say, you know, Crash is trying to pass my guard and we wind up here. So again, I'm framing to make sure I don't get he doesn't get a grip on my head. All right. So make sure you frame so once he gets the grip, this is going to be, if he gets a grip on my head, I will try to fight for the underhook. All right. Because that's a better solution. But before that happens, as I'm in half guard, I try to make sure that he doesn't get a grip on my head. From here, I will kick my leg through and slide my body in. And now I bring up my leg and immediately put it on the hip. I'm not done yet because he can still sort of counter that. Now I need to make sure that my bottom leg starts to go on his hip. So again, I'm framing, bring up the bottom leg, and I'm a split guard. Again, bulk of my game is focused, I'm going to do it again, but bulk of my game is focused on controlling his limbs with my legs, with my hips, with my body positioning, rather than people have a tendency to grab. If you're 230 pounds, strong as a moose, especially with the gi, and you grab, it's going to be hard to free that limb. But you can defend that limb by your own body movement. And a lot of times it becomes strength on strength unless you basically can defend it by body movement. There's plenty of times when a guy just grabs my gi and, okay, I'm not ripping that grip off anytime soon. I start to move around in a way that neutralizes that grip rather than ripping it out. And I think that's a sort of, to some extent it's ingrained to us because we as humans tend to use our hands so much. You know, we're tactile sort of creatures, but we, especially in jiu-jitsu, we rely on it too much. People, armbar people, especially from the guard, they grab, 2-on-1 and forget about the body positioning and bites them in the ass. You need to start to learn how to control your opponent with your hips, with your legs, and your body positioning, rather than just holding on with your hands. Again, they're weaker than the legs, and more importantly, you basically focusing 100% of your attention on and the guy knows, like, okay, this is going to be under attack because this is No, I'm attacking his posture. I'm attacking the angling. So now, again, the first thing, he cannot do anything unless he rectifies the posture issue. By the time he does that, usually he's armbar. So let's look at it from the half guard again. So for whatever reason, I wind up in half guard. So my number one, and I try not to get my hips collapsed, because if that's the case, he's going to pass my guard. All right. So I wind up in half guard. First thing I do is, instead of controlling his posture, I actually want to go into framing, because right now I'm concerned about making sure that he doesn't grab my head. As soon as I feel like I don't have that threat anymore, that this is no longer a threat, what I'll do is I'll curl in a little bit. This left leg comes up and makes sure that it traps the arm. Look, I'm using no hands, but Crash now cannot pull this hand out that easily. My foot goes on the hip. I start to square away from him. This comes out. Don't worry, I will get it out. You can sit on it. It comes out. Foot goes on the hip, and especially in this position, I'm going to attack a triangle immediately. But right now, I'm a split guard. So I hope that answers your question.
And one last question before we close out, related to the split guard. This is from KDB. He's asking, when you're placing your feet to set up split guard and don't yet have a grip on his arm, are you susceptible to him placing your foot on his stomach and chest for an esteem lap?
No, once they're on the hips, if you do it this way, if you bring your foot out like this, yeah, absolutely. But my feet are like this. Go ahead, try to do an esteem lap. Yeah. It's not going to happen. He comes back in, and here we go. And he's under attack. As you know, omoplata is one of the attacks. Usually that's probably going to be the look you're going to get from most high-level guys, is immediately omoplata. But there is no esteem lock. The only time that you have an esteem lock if you do this. I forgot how you could do it. Okay? But, so usually, especially if I don't have a good engagement on him, I will play a sort of a bit of a De La Riva shin to shin guard hybrid, and I'll try to get my grips. Once I have my grips, I will try to drag. Of course, he doesn't let me have the drag. I start to attack the split guard, and from here, high level guy will, yeah, yes, I know. We go into omoplata. So that would be the answer. You don't have the danger of estima. Usually estima lock is present when the guy's toes are pointing inward. And a lot of times that is present when the guy's trying to regard. With split guard, I'm not trying to regard. He's usually in some sort of a De La Riva shin on shin guard, butterfly guard, and I know how to play butterfly guard. I don't play that much of it. I tend to try to feed people into split guard, because that, to me, is defensively and offensively the best guard. Once they know the danger of the split guard, they will. It's usually very difficult to back away. They will dive in, and we go into perpendicular guard.
And everybody's saying, thank you, amazing stuff. And Felix N.A. says, Fox Jiu-Jitsu is slick.
I appreciate it. Guys, we'll see you next Friday. The usual time. Guys, as Enrique says, share, like, follow. Guys, follow us on Instagram. Everything is easy. On Instagram, we put in usually sort of shorter reels. because I try to answer. There's so many questions coming in. The live questions get priority. We usually start off with one question. But if there's some things that I can answer in a short reel, I will do that. Everything is easy to find. Everything, if you put in Silver Fox BJJ, it comes up on YouTube. It comes up on Instagram. It comes up on Facebook. It comes up on, where else does it come up, Mike?
Ooh.
Google. We just don't put it on TikTok. There's only so many things, so many mouths I can feed, and Mike is busy with his own projects. So he can only help me with 3 things. 4 things? All right.
Yeah, something like
We'll
that.
see you next week.